Yo, what's up, YouTube? Okay, oftentimes, when men talk about issues going on with men's rights, people want to pass it off, and people want to act as if men are making stuff up, and we are just causing trouble. Okay, so I'm in class and I'm reading a textbook. Now this is assigned. Okay, so I'm reading a textbook, and the authors, of course, are notable and reputable. Obviously because the school has said, the school has approved their textbook for us to read. So we're reading the textbook, and I'm reading through, and this book came out in 2009, and I'm reading it, and the book is just about how to talk about issues with diversity and other issues that are hard to talk about in a conductive way, okay, in terms of public education. So that's what the book is about. And I was reading a part of the book, and it was talking about gender. And the book failed to even acknowledge the strides that women have made in terms of closing, the disparity in terms of back in the day where education was more, was deemed more so male, okay, and women weren't necessarily challenged academically and therefore professionally, and they weren't going to college as opposed to now. But they'll come on and they'll act as if it is still 1950s where the boys were encouraged to be good in math and go off to college, and the women were encouraged to take up pottery or sewing and start pumping out babies. And this is dangerous because, once again, people are fed this, and people will continue to believe that somehow women are getting the raw end of the stick. But, I talk to a lot of my female cousins and, friends of the family who are in high school. And what I always do when I see them is ask them, I know you're taking honors and AP classes. Are there more men than women in those classes? And they'll always laugh and say it's dominated by women. The guys, they're not doing anything. Okay. So even on the high school level, if you look at the high achievers, now I understand that it may be different at different schools, but in terms of my neck of the woods, at most of the schools that, I've inquired into, the women were always outnumbering, the boys in terms of who went off to college and who were, and the ones who were in the honors and the AP classes, who were achieving academically. Okay? If you look across the state, and I know this will vary based off of college, but in certain college campuses, you will see that there are more women receiving degrees than there are men receiving degrees. But yet, I'm reading this textbook that came out in 2009, that is pumping out this whole idea that women are still having it, rough, and they're having it hard, and they're not being challenged enough, and the boys are encouraged to do well academically, but the women are encouraged to take a back seat. Complete BS. Complete BS. Even growing up in high school, when I was taking the honors and AP classes, dominated by women. Dominated by women. Dominated. Okay? But yet no attention is, really given to that. Nobody wants to explore what's going on there. Okay? And, and the problem with this whole debate is that a while ago, okay, like a couple of decades ago, we could have said with, some certainty that there was some unbiased treatment towards men and women. There was this whole idea of, men being encouraged to do well academically while women were. Like I said, a couple of 40, 50 years ago, somebody could have clearly made that argument. Okay, but now I don't really see anybody making the argument and, it being valid. The problem is no one wants to accept the whole idea that a lot of women choose not to get themselves in a position where they are, where they're trying to super duper achieve academically and professionally. You have women who say, I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to load my plate. But because somebody wants to look at a number and they'll say, oh, look at these top paying jobs, they're dominated by men, somehow women are being left out, no one wants to account for the fact that a lot of women sometimes aren't going for those positions. A lot of the times, the people don't want to look at how many people in general don't have those top-notch positions. There's only so many top-notch positions out there. Okay. And, like we've all noticed and seen before, that a lot of these top-notch CEO, high-paying jobs are always kept in the family for the most part. So it's not even an issue of is it male or female. It's just more so about certain positions being kept within the family. But yet people will come on and look at these stats and see that, it's ran by men, and somehow that translates into women, being excluded from, certain avenues of professional America. And like I said, it's complete BS. Okay? My mother could easily be running around with her doctorate degree, but she opted not to because she wanted to do the whole wife and family thing. Same thing with my older sister. Okay? Clearly could have been a doctor, stellar student, high school, college, always in the paper in terms of her scores and what she got, but, she decided not to go that route. But somebody's going to look at her, okay, and say, she's not a doctor because, somehow she was discouraged because she's a woman, whereas opposed to she chose to because she would rather balance herself out. And that's what people aren't understanding. Part of, being a husband and a fatherhood is your ability to provide. Okay? If men didn't necessarily have to have that burden, the drop-off in terms of male-dominated careers or positions would be significant. Okay? If men didn't have to bust their butts so they can make X amount of dollars to support, their family, they probably wouldn't be doing it. Okay? And if the roles were reversed, where men were considered to be, the caregivers and the women were considered to be the providers, then there would be a shift. You would definitely see men dominate women-dominated positions and vice versa. So in closing, I have a hard time believing that we are still living in a world where, our education and professional system is biased against women. Okay? When there's evidence here and there that support the whole idea of women clearly doing better. Just look at the black community, everybody. Look at the black community. Okay, there's evidence all around us that support the whole idea, and this goes for any race, that women are clearly taking advantage of their situation and it's benefiting them more than the men. Like I said before, for a lot of men in America, especially those from lower or middle class income communities, they are expected to produce a whole lot more, whereas women are not. So they have the luxury of knowing that, hey, I don't have to provide, financial stability, so I can go ahead and go to college and invest 6-7 years into my own future. Whereas men, you're 21, 22, people around you, your family and just everybody's looking at you in terms of how much money can you make, how much bread can you put on this table. But nobody wants to factor that in. Okay? And no one wants to factor in, like I said before, women choosing not to engage in certain occupations that do not allow them to, be the woman that they want to be, that are not allowing them to be mothers, to be wives. Don't they have personal choice? But once again, women don't have personal choice. For whatever reason, women can't think for themselves, and, men, we are just this overbearing, controlling monster. And this is in a textbook, people. This is in a textbook, okay? And who knows how many other programs across America or globally read this same book. And of course, people aren't going to question what they read, but people are going to walk away with this whole idea of, women are really being, treated poorly. Or, our education and professional system is biased against them. Okay, well, we'll see how far that gets us in the next couple of years with that sort of blind acceptance. Because to me, if you just look at the world, you will clearly see that this isn't going on. Now, I can understand if this was somehow covert, okay, and you really have to dig deep to figure out what's going on. But, I could walk on a college campus and clearly see that women are there in greater numbers, or women are equal to men. And like I said, if you walk on a high school, okay, and you look at the students who are in the GATE program, the Gifted and Talented program, or, the students in honors and AP, and the students who are excelling academically, you will find that, it's more women than men. So, it is what it is. Tell me how you feel. Take it easy. God bless.